everyone, I'm Allie with Potomac Beads. Join me in making this nice Peruvian Crystals and Peaks bracelet, working with some Potomac exclusives, including the Potomac's new metal Eva bead, as well as some crystals. Gather up your supplies, which were just listed, or you can get to the links below me in the video in the description. And we'll get ready to create. So to begin, we're doing this project with 2 needles. I have 2 size 10 beading needles on some .006 white wildfire beading thread. I have a needle on each end with about 5 feet of thread that is going to be equal on both sides of the needle. Because we're using 2, I have my Lila Vega luster cup button, and I'm going to use one of my SO beads at kind of the start. But first pick up 3 of your 15s, and the 15s I'm using are the Miyuki 15-0 in the copper lined opal. They just have that nice kind of shimmer and shine that will work really well with our copper Eva beads. From there, go ahead and put on one of your SOs through both holes. So you're going one needle through one hole, one needle through the other hole. That's going to get that light purple right at the top of the button, which is going to just decorate it a little bit. Take those 2 needles as well and go through the back of the button and out to the bottom. When you pull that down, then you'll see just that little decor right on the top of the button, just to give it a little bit of flair. Coming out the back of the button then, I want you to pick up 3 15s on both the right and then on the left needle. When it comes to 2 needle projects, generally speaking, they're going to be mirror images of one another. So whatever you do with the left-hand needle, you're also going to do with the right-hand needle. Once you have those 2 there, you're going to grab another one of your SOs and go through one hole and then the other hole of the SO to join those 2 together. That's going to be the clasp closure section and how I'm going to actually attach it to my design and for a loop on the other side. After the SO bead, go ahead and put 1 15 on both the left and the right needle. Then we're going to put on our first of our Potomac's Eva in the copper color. And I'm going through with 1 needle going through the right hole, 1 needle going through the left. I have it faced up so that the point is facing up, and I'm coming into the open end. When I push this down, it's going to kind of hug that SO bead right along the side. When you're coming out of these along the side here, I want you to put on a 2 15s on each side. Then you're going to put on 1 SO bead, 1 through each hole. Next, you're going to pick up right away 2 more SO beads, 1 going through the right needle and 1 on the left needle. That's going to be followed up by a 4th SO bead that's going to sit through both needles as well. So it's going to be a grouping of 4 of your SOs kind of sitting in that diamond shape there and stacked down. When you push that against, you'll see that nice little kind of diamond shape sits right in the middle of those Potomacs. We'll come back then and add our crystals in to give it a little bit more bling as we come down and grab the sides of our SOs when we come back to kind of reinforce and to put those in. From here, go ahead and pick up 2 of your 15s on the right needle. If you need to, you can poke it into the design. Use your right hand to pick up 2 on the left needle. The more you practice with 2 needles, the easier it will get for the design if you so choose to actually use both hands for the design. There you have those 2. I should have mentioned also, you want to make sure that you still have equal amounts of thread coming out those 2 beads. From here, we're going to put on our next one of our Eva beads. So our next metal Eva is going to go on, and it's going to point this time facing in again towards those SO beads. So the right needle is going to go through the right hole, coming out through the bigger portion or the open end of the Eva. And then on the other side, it's going to go through the other hole. When you pull that down, those Eva beads are going to point in towards the SOs to create that nice little diamond effect. When the Evas are pointed away from each other, so here they're pointing towards that SO bead, when they're pointing away on each needle, you're going to put a 15, an SO, and a 15. Then you're going to top it off with your next Eva bead facing away from the other one, so point in. From here, then you're going to have that SO on either side with a 15 on either side. That next bead is there, and then you're going to repeat that same pattern that we just did. So picking up again 2 of your 15s with your right needle, then an SO, 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 2 15s, and your next EVA bead. Now you notice I did this all with my left hand. Now I'm going to pick up my right hand, or my right needle rather, and I'm going to put on 2 15s. Then we share that first SO bead. So I'm going to share the first one, pick up another one, share the third one, pick up 2 more 15s, and continue on with the pattern. So you're going to continue on with this baseline, the whole first row, and then we get to come back and add a little billing as we come back down the bracelet to complete and to reinforce again that clasp. As you come to the end and finish up the design, and I have 12 of my EVA beads, or if you're looking, I have 6 of my little diamonds, 5 spots where it's facing in for one another. If you don't want to have to get 12 of the EVA beads, you can also start here with the SOs, and that way you'll use kind of one less bead, or you can stretch it out just a tiny bit. Coming out the end of the last EVA bead, what I want to do is make a loop for my clasp to sit into. So we're going to repeat the start where we have 1 15 and then our SO that we share, and then instead of going back and doing 3 on each side, we're going to make our loop with our 15s. What I'm going to do here is put on 1 of my 15s, 1 of my SO on this right hand side, 1 15, and then I'm actually going to put on one of my crystals to start out the loop just for a little bit of bling. From there, same needle in hand, I'm going to add about 26 or so of my 15 seed beads. If you would have a metal clasp or a wire clasp that you're working with, keep in mind that it's a great idea to use a wire guard, and you would be putting that on right now with the clasp and the closure, whether or not you want to put on a really fun S-hook or push clasp, it's kind of up to you. But I'm doing the loop to go along with my button, creating all those seed beads in there. And you want to test out the loop if you do have a button to see how many seed beads comfortably sit around the button. You don't want it too large that it's going to pop off, and you don't want it too small that it's not actually going to go through the button. So once you have your loop, you're going to take your thread and needle back down through that same crystal bead and out towards the design. Again, make sure that the button loop is not too big. I got a little excited. I'm going to take a couple of my 15-0s off, and then I'm going to reinforce this thread end. To reinforce the end, I'm going to take the thread and needle that I have in my hand, put it to the side, and pick up the other needle. Same thing on this side, go through and put on 1 15-0, go through the SO, put on another 15-0 to join into the crystal. From here, reinforce the clasp, going the whole way through all the 15s, and that's going to get 2 threads through. Anytime you have a clasp or closure, you always want to make sure that you're at least doubling the thread, because that is the point where it has the most tension and where you're most likely to get wear and tear. After going through and reinforcing, come back down through that same crystal, and then again, test out your loop to make sure of that perfect fit. Now that we're out of the loop and we're coming back down the side, I've gone down the right-hand side and done something really, really simple. I'll show you, we're going to be basically doing the same thing on the left-hand side, but adding a little bit of a loop in the design to get some crystals in the middle of our 2 EVA beads that sit kind of pointed with the ends towards one another. Coming down on the right-hand side, I want you to go through, coming out your EVA bead, add 2 15s, a crystal, and then go through the SO, because you're always going to be going through the SO, the open hole. Another 3mm crystal, which I'm using the Alexandrite color in the Potomac Crystal 3mm round, and 2 more 15s. Go through the next EVA bead, add 2 15s, and go through the next SO bead. Coming out the SO, 2 15s through the EVA. Again, 2 15s, crystal, SO, crystal, 2 15s, EVA. 2 15s, second hole of the SO, 2 15s, EVA. On the right-hand side, or sorry, the left-hand side, we're going to be doing the same thing. However, I'm going to switch it to the right so that way it's a little bit easier to hold here. However, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be circling around. Oh, we'll keep it to the left since those EVAs are at the SOs are at the front. What we're going to be doing is changing it up just a little bit to get crystals to the top of our middle SO beads here. So I have my 2 15s, my crystal, going through that SO bead, shorten my tail here, crystal, 2 15s, and then we're going through the next one of our EVA beads. So just like I did on the previous side. Coming through here, we're gonna add 1 15 through the SO, just like I did on the previous side. Another 15, but here's where it changes up. In the right-hand side, I added, 2 15s. And then through the SO. On the other side here, I added 2 more 15s and went back down the SO. On the left, I'm gonna add 1 15, 1 crystal, and I'm sewing through the 15 SO, 15 from the right-hand side of the design. That's gonna pop a crystal right in the middle between the SOs. Coming out that 15, add another crystal, go through the 15 SO, 15 on the left-hand side that we just added. Give it a nice little tight pull. That pops those crystals to the top, and now add a 15 and go through the EVA bead. I'll do that one more time for you. So coming out through the EVA on the sides of the diamonds, 2 15 crystal through the SO. And you want to make sure all of these crystals are going to the same side. Crystal, 2 15s through the next EVA bead. And these copper EVAs work perfectly for this. Again, 2 15s through the EVA. Here's where it changes up. You do 1 15, 1 3mm crystal, and then we're going through the 15 SO 15 out the top of this design. Give a nice little tight pull. Another 3mm crystal, round it out through the 15 that sits right on the side of the SO and the 15, and out. Again, add 1 more 15 and continue down the side. Now I went down the right-hand side maybe 3 or 4 stitches. I'm going to keep that so that way my tension kind of remains the same. And this is how you're gonna get that nice 3-dimensional look with those crystals kind of popping to the top of those peaks and the valleys kind of falling down in. Once you're done going down the sides, I have both of my thread and needle coming out my last EVA bead, but I wanted to show you kind of that 3-dimensional look and how it sits on the wrist with those kind of crystal sections kind of popping up. So the last thing I need to do basically is reinforce that clasp and have this nice design kind of be finalized. So all I'm gonna do is I have my thread and needle coming out through my last little section here of my EVA, and one of the threads I'm gonna keep to that side. So I'm gonna keep this to the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side I'm gonna reinforce this looped, or this button clasp, going up through the 15, through the SO. When you go through the 15s, if you are using a curved button like this, go through the 15s and try to go through your first bead that's in the middle there as well, or you won't get it through. Going through and coming out that SO then. If you can reinforce the 15s. If not, you can scoot down back through just the plain SO. Go down through the 15 SO and cut button on the other side, and if you can, at the same time, it's nice to go through those 15s. It'll kind of save you a little step, especially if you're using a size 10 needle like I am. Go through the SO, the 15, and then with these opal beads and this white thread, I can really easily tie the knot here together and be finished with the design. So the design looks really, really complicated. The nice thing is that as you create these little peaks, that you don't actually have to make it complicated. It's just going around through those 15 O's. Since I have this knot here, I'll take the thread needle that was in my hand, go back through that same OSO bead just to separate out, or sorry, that same EVA bead, just to separate out my thread a little bit. Pull that knot into the SO, since the SO, or the EVA rather, since the EVA has a pretty nice size hole. Grab your thread zap or your thread burner and burn down those thread edges. Burn down one, then the other, then burn them flush against the project until they are flawlessly kind of inside that EVA without burning through any of the other threads. And there you have it. The nice thing with just design, because of the colors and because of the pattern, again, you're not going to see any extra little thread in there. And I chose the white thread because of those nice see-through crystals. Thanks so much for watching the Crystal Peruvian Bracelet. Remember, it has kind of that fun peaks and valleys designs where the crystals will actually sit up and have that three-dimensional look with very, very little effort thanks to those SO beads. Remember, if you need any of the materials to do this bracelet, you can go below me to the links in the description, as well as to PotomacBeads.com, as well as PotomacBeads.eu. As always, you can give a little thumbs up if you like the YouTube video, comment below, and give suggestions, ideas, or any changes or modifications that you may have made. As well as subscribe to this YouTube channel to get regular updates on new beads like the Potomacs, as well as updates from us and better beader episodes and new tutorials. As always, thanks so much for watching and enjoy your own Peruvian bracelet.